and welcome to Mr. Stitch Films podcast, Creepy Corner. I'm your host, Anthony M. Winson. Join me as we venture into the world of horror movies, explore chilling, creepy stories, uncover unsettling urban legends, and share ghostly encounters that will send shivers down your spine. This week's co-host is a good friend of mine, Charlotte. Say hi, Charlotte.
Hi, Charlotte.
Nice little intro there. Join us to share in the frightful fun, get ready to embrace the darkness, and let's get creepy. So in this episode, we're sinking our teeth into the world of zombies. Those haunting figures that shuffle between life and death will uncover their origins, from ancient folklore to chilling tales of Haitian voodoo. Then we'll examine their indelible impact on cinema, highlighting classic films like Dawn of the Dead that have cemented zombies as icons of fear. Prepare for a deep dive into the macabre as we explore what makes these creatures so endlessly fascinating and terrifying. So, this topic has been picked by yours cruelly.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that. Yours cruelly. Yeah, zombies. I love zombies. I love the idea of the end of the world. It's a bit, you shouldn't, but, you know, with the last 14 years of the Conservative government, it's nice to imagine that we'd end up somewhere better. and the zombie apocalypse seemed like a good place to start.
Well, I don't blame you, really. I mean, I think from when I was a child, there was always a fascination with me from zombies and things like that. I think, I grew up watching such films as Dawn of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead, and all that lot. And I don't think zombies have ever really gone away. No,
they haven't. There's always room for another zombie film. There's always room for another zombie TV show. There's an inherent fascination, I think, that humans have with the idea that you die, that's the end.
Yeah.
But then actually your physical body comes back to life through whatever means that may be, whether it's, I don't know, T-virus in...
Resident Evil.
Thank you. My brain just decided to disappear then. Or through something like the fungus in...
The Last of Us.
You're very good at this. I'm not. But the idea that physically we could be controlled by something else, that something else is in control of our body, is a terrifying idea that we have no control over.
I mean, that's what kind of goes into the origins, really, that people believed in...
Haitian,
thank you, Charlotte. So, I help you, you help me. This is how it goes.
This is how it works. Yeah, no, the Haitian voodoo sort of the starting of it. Whether it's true or not, it kind of... It lends itself to the story that it started in with voodoo magic and people drugging people to make them do their will, make them autonomous. I think it's probably one of the scariest things that could happen to somebody.
Yeah.
And we see it still happening today with... Oh, I've gone way too deep here. Come back, Charlotte. Pull it back. This is meant to be light-hearted. Sorry.
Hey, go there if you want to go there.
I was about to go down an emotional manipulation route and start talking about domestic violence, and then I thought, shit, bring it back. We're in zombie world, not that.
Like gaslighting.
Basically, yeah. And it's just the idea that we're not in control.
I think a lot of people fear that, don't they, of losing control of who they are and not being in control of their day-to-day lives and things like that. And
then certainly all the comforts that we now have in day-to-day life. Yeah. Existing without running water, electricity, cell phones, all of that kind of thing. Cell phones. American. Mobiles. Or as the Germans called, mein Handy.
Lessons with Charlotte.
Just know that from QI. But yeah, existing and living without all those things as well, I think is fascinating.
Yes.
And I always love the portrayals of that sort of, somebody running away from a city being followed by a swarm of zombies. How are they going to survive out there? They've got to resort back to being, Neolithic basic. Almost, and basic, and living in the wilderness, foraging, hunting, whatever.
Yeah.
And in every single zombie film or zombie story, at the end of the day, it turns out that the monsters are actually humans.
Oh, 100%.
It's humans, and that guy Jeff who got bitten like 4 hours ago and hasn't told anyone. You bastard.
Bastard, Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff.
Oh, Jeff.
Sorry if your name's Jeff and you're listening to this. Nothing personal against you. Only if you spell it Geoff.
Geoff. Then we're coming for you. We're coming to get you, Jeff.
We're coming to get you, Jeff.
See, I think that was one of the great lines that was in the remake of Night of the Living Dead,
Yeah.
directed by Tom Savini. He added a line that was, they're shooting zombies for fun, and she turns and says, they're us, we're them, and they're us. And it's true.
Yeah,
like,
it
I mean,
is.
they are surviving because that's all they know, and we should know better.
Yeah, we should. It's
But we're just mercilessly
killing them.
Yeah.
Because we have to.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
otherwise we're them. But
But it is a strange one that they are basically doing what they are just programmed to do.
Yeah.
And I've always wondered, and I don't know if it's ever really been addressed in zombie
are we about
films.
to talk about zombie sex?
How do they repopulate? No. How do zombies know the difference between who's a zombie and who's living? Because, I mean, Walking Dead kind of say that if you cover yourself in zombie guts, then they can't smell you, sort of
Yeah,
thing.
Walking Dead says it's to do with smell and things like that. Okay, so if we presume that it is in The Walking Dead like a bacteria, a virus, is it to do with that bacteria, that virus hearing heartbeats or something like that? Is it to do with smell, light, movement? Why don't you get two zombies strolling along and one of them just starts gnawing on the other one's arm and it's like, Steve, get off. It's
me.
It's me, you dick. Okay, well, now we should need to film that. It's... I don't know. Is it just a horde thing? Is it the same reason why a school of fish know that each of them is fish?
This is true.
It's the reason why a herd of sheep know that each of them is a sheep.
Yeah.
And
It's
then,
like, why do they need to eat? Because it's not eating to survive. They're eating to die.
no, it's eating to...
Eating to die. That's not
Eating to
right.
die.
No, so they don't eat to survive. They just eat because it's what they do. Because obviously they have no
Yeah,
digestion.
because they don't have digestion and they're not... And also when they're eating, they're not necessarily turning that person into a zombie.
No.
Because they are completely eviscerating that person.
Yeah.
And, they're not going to stand up again.
No.
Bits of them might, but, but then you get something like, and I know this is a bit of a cuss word in the world of zombie movies and zombie films, something like World War Z.
Yeah.
If we take, for example, the zombies in that, it
Yeah.
does seem to be much more of a bite and move on,
Yeah.
not bite, chew, eviscerate, get your knife and fork out, saute some potatoes and have a meal of that person. It is just more bite, transfer the virus, run, move on.
Jeff on the table.
Hey, pass the sauce, please.
Jeff's left leg is rather tasty. It's a bit of salt.
Bit of seasoning.
It's a bit bland, this Jeff.
But if you're talking Walking Dead zombies or other zombies pretty much from any other film or scenario, then there is no need to eat the person.
Yeah.
And the idea of zombies in that sense there's no sense in it scientifically at all.
No.
And then we go and look at zombies from something like The Last of Us.
Yeah.
And that scares the crap out of me.
Last of Us, yeah.
Because cordyceps exist. That fungus exists and it drives around ants and makes them do their own thing. The same thing happens under the sea with, you get sea worms and things that will implant themselves into crabs and then end up sprouting out of the top of the shell of the crab and then drive the crab around doing its own thing. So that is almost more terrifying.
Yeah.
Because that could happen.
Yeah. They're saying that if you go via the Last of Us TV series hypothesis, that... That's a big word for me.
It is. You okay?
I know.
Stop and take a minute. Quick break, please, ladies and gentlemen.
That our body temperatures, as they're saying that we are just too warm for that bacteria, that fungus to survive in us. But if our body temperature dropped across the board by, I think it's even a degree.
It's only a couple of degrees, yeah.
This could be a real life pandemic for us.
And not only things like the fungus, but so with the effects of global warming at the moment, glaciers and whatnot, and ice caps are melting, releasing a whole trembulation trumpet, a word that means a lot that I can't remember now. And it was going to sound amazing in that sentence, and I've ruined it. Let's try again. So with global warming and melting of the ice caps and such things, you're now getting an absolute myriad of bacteria being released.
Yeah.
And it's bacteria that we as human beings, which are a tiny little blip in the timeline, have no experience of.
Yes.
there is nothing to say that in 10 years' time, a chunk of the Arctic Ocean could suddenly become populated with a fungus that will just obliterate humanity.
Yeah.
And it's fun to think of these things.
No more Donald Trump.
Yay! Oh, sorry, I got
We
lost.
digress.
I got lost in a fantasy world where Trump didn't exist.
We've just lost half our viewers.
Oh, bye, guys. Fuck off. Sorry, that was rude. You're allowed your own political views,
Yes.
as long as they're the same as mine. Yeah, just zombies. I think it's an underlying theme that I think you can find everywhere.
Yeah, and like they said, when the Haitian origins of it, like we said earlier, that people were scared of dying because they were worried that their bodies, which is their essence, so to speak, would be controlled through voodoo for their bidding, and they'd have no control or say over what to do. And then that was taken and brought into our generation. And everyone argues the fact, but it's whether or not you want to go with it or not. But George A. Romero is like the father of the zombie. They said that Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead were almost a commentary.
Yeah, a commentary and a case study of humanity at the time.
And consumerism.
Yeah,
and
consumerism.
Because the Vietnam War was going on and things like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, you had the Vietnam
60s,
War,
so...
you had an awakening of a generation to not following the status quo.
Yeah.
You suddenly had, well, not suddenly, but you had now hippies and rockers, and people were taking drugs in a fun and experimental way. You had a whole generation that were separate from the group. They hadn't grown up during the war, First World War and Second World War. You had a group of people who were now becoming disenfranchised with that societal norm. And you could sit and say, well, yes, that still goes on today. We have a horde of zombies on TikTok and Instagram posting reels and starving themselves on Ozempic.
You lost your train of thought.
I did. I lost it. It went... All I've got in my head now is that we're sheep. We're zombie sheep, which leads me nicely, actually, to one of my favourite zombie films, Peter Jackson's Brain Dead.
I've never seen Brain
Oh,
Dead.
my God. I can't... It's wonderful.
Okay, I've heard of it.
It's so gloriously shit.
Right.
And you watch it and you think, this man made the masterpiece that is The Lord of the Rings. This man turned one of the best works of literary fiction into a Marvel 11 Oscar-winning film series. And yet he made Brain Dead, where there are zombie sheep and a man falls off a cliff and bits of his head fall out of his skull, and then he wraps it up with a scarf and puts a hat on top and carries on walking.
Oh.
I
hate it when that happens.
It's the worst. No, it is a very funny but very crap old zombie film.
Yeah.
It has all those kind of the tropes about it, but it also has aliens in it as well, which I never quite understood. But hey, so before this, you set me a bit of zombie homework.
I did.
Because there are a couple, I have to say, I am a failure when it comes to zombie films. I like my modern, shiny, new zombie films. And there's not a lot of the old classics that I've watched. The two that you said, no, you're going to go and watch these, Charlotte, come on now, sort the fuck out, was Dawn of the Dead.
Yes, the original.
Which... the beginning of, I was kind of lost. I was like, I don't really understand what's happening here, but okay. The second they got to the shopping mall, I was like, oh, it's this one. I have seen this. And I think then the familiarity of it pulled me in more and I enjoyed it more.
Yeah.
The second one was flesh-eating zombies.
Zombie flesh eaters.
Sorry, zombie flesh eaters. I got about halfway through that and then I had to actually do some work when working from home. And I thought it was fantastic.
Well, the
half that I loved, I really enjoyed.
The funny thing is that I didn't remember until I was looking up stuff for the podcast was that Dawn of the Dead, when it was released in, I think it was Italy, was named Zombie.
Yeah.
Zombi.
Uh-huh.
Zombie Flesh Eaters, when that was made, was marketed as a sequel because it was called Zombie 2.
Oh,
so
okay. So technically they're...
the franchise without knowing.
Oh, I like
even
that.
though they weren't made at all by the same people. But
even the style of the zombie was... the style of zombies even was similar, so it makes sense.
I mean, Zombie Flesh Eater was banned in the UK.
That doesn't surprise me. There was a lot of boobs in that film.
It was the gore. Because it is. And even now you look at it, because people are going to come through for this, but I believe it was made by Lucio Fulci, Zombie Flesh Eaters. And he was the godfather of gore.
Yeah.
He was prolific in the 70s, 80s
for
his
doing gore films.
like very realistic gore films and just over the top gore and things like that.
But once again, that's a generation, post-war generation, who hadn't seen gore like that in real life.
Yeah.
But their parents, their fathers, will have been out at war and seen that for real.
Yeah.
So maybe that's something to do there with why there was this kind of generational shift, and why certainly the previous generation, there was no fascination with this.
No.
Post-generation, they've seen their parents go through this trauma
Yeah.
of seeing live flesh eviscerated everywhere, but they've not seen it in person.
Yeah, I
so
mean,
let's go
you
and see it in
kind
the
of-
cinema.
I think maybe the closest thing that they had were like Hammer films, which
Yeah.
wasn't particularly very gory. It was maybe a bit bloody,
Yeah, every now and then, a little bit of blood, but not
gore, and then
limbs being torn off
No.
and all of that sort of thing.
It was
No.
like mid to late 70s, and then gore hit
Yeah.
big time. And I'm not surprised that a lot of films got banned for it, because it was so shocking for the time, because no one was used to it.
Yeah.
No one was used to seeing that on the cinema. You know, you probably
And
was
do you
like,
think as well the invention and introduction of colour
yes.
into the cinema?
Yes, that would have played a big part. 'Cause
Suddenly
even
you
now,
have this
you
bright
could
red.
you could have a horrific, gory scene, and the MPAA won't classify it the same in black and white as it is in
Yeah.
colour. Because that's why Kill Bill, do you know when she goes through the big sword
yes.
fight,
It goes into black and white, yeah.
to get past through the MPAA.
As an uneducated viewer, though, you might watch that and think, "Oh, that's just a cool little thing."
Yeah, yeah.
But actually, it's gets your ratings changed.
It was a sneaky way of getting around it.
Even now, if you look at videos you get it on YouTube, you get it on TikTok, from Facebook. If it's something like a hospital drama, like Grey's Anatomy or something, they won't blur out the image anymore. They'll just make a section of the image black and white,
Yeah.
so you don't see the blood.
But the thing is, a lot of times on TV, they can get away with gore in hospital
Yeah.
shows because it's educational.
Certainly, yes. Yeah. I don't know how educational Grey's Anatomy is, but, you know.
But it does make me wonder. Well, I think that's quite an interesting workaround.
Yeah.
That a child could sit up and watch, say, Casualty in the
Yeah.
UK or Grey's Anatomy
Yeah.
in the US or whatever, and because it's educational,
Yeah.
insert air quotes, they can get around it.
Yeah,
being
they can.
quite
They're
gory
still
and
okay
bloody.
with the trauma of somebody being impaled on a
Yeah.
a railing or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's in black and white, or it's educational. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to zombies.
Back to zombies.
Zombie flesh eaters.
Yes.
I said to you, I messaged you about the shark scene.
Yes.
Spoilers ahead. If you haven't watched it, neither have I. I never made it through the second half. I'm sorry. I will do when I get home. The shark scene I absolutely loved. I don't know why.
And it was a real shark.
Even better.
And a real actor.
Yeah. But how brilliant. A real shark, a real actor, in a time where sharks are already being used as a horror trope.
Yes.
Which I don't really agree with, because it's led to a big mistrust of sharks and all that sort of thing. And really, they're just sea puppies. Yes, and we're swimming in their back garden. Go sharks. But it was, I don't know, just how it was done, it was really good. It was scary. Ripping off a bit of coral. The fact that the woman had got off the boat in nothing but like a white bikini G-string and a scuba kit.
Yeah.
I mean, good for you, love. Fantastic. If I looked like that without my top on, yeah, I probably would be getting on doing that myself.
It was a year of exploitation.
Yeah. You say the year of exploitation. Darling, it's 2024. We're still being exploited. Everyone is.
I mean, in horror.
Yes.
Because I mentioned this on one of the other podcasts, was that women were very much seen as like this titillation within the horror film. They were being exploited there. Oh, breasts and things that'll appease the male audience and whatnot.
Yeah.
But now I think that the female character has very much become the hero.
Oh, definitely.
The stronghold of the films. And I think if you don't have a female survivor in horror films and things like that, then I feel people feel a bit let down.
Almost cheated.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, as a gay man myself, I love seeing a badass woman kicking butt
It's
and
fantastic.
surviving.
I'm now going through my head thinking, yeah, there are so many zombie films and zombie TV shows where it is a kick-ass woman doing it all.
Resident Evil, finest point.
Mila Jovovich.
Yes.
You crazy woman.
I love her.
Multipass. That's not a zombie film, but it would be good as a zombie film.
Yeah.
It would be. Yeah, kick-ass strong women in zombie films. Maybe that's why I love them so much, because it's a chance for people to step up and show who they really are.
Well, that's what he did. Tom Savini did with the remake of Night of the Living Dead. In the original black and white 1960, I think it was, maybe.
Yeah.
Barbara was very much a weak, feeble kind of character. She spent most of the film catatonic because her brother's been murdered at the beginning.
Every now and then going, ah!
Yeah. And then the remake, the Barbara starts out like that, and then she gets herself together, and by the end of it, she becomes Rambo.
Yep.
And it's just so badass.
But that character development is what we love about films.
Yes.
It's what I love particularly about characters.
Yeah.
You know, you look at some, okay, so standard classic thing there, Walking Dead, Carol.
Yeah.
She's this beaten, trodden down, weak woman who's cut all her hair off because it's that awful thing of you cut your hair off, there's nothing there to grab on, so they'll be then thrown against a wall or whatever.
The domestic abuse.
And in the end, look at her there. She's a fucking warrior. Whether you made it to season 743 of The Walking Dead with the spin-off with Carol and the Ghost of Carl, it doesn't matter. She turned into the most amazing character.
Totally agree.
Oh, love her.
Well, they
She's
said
amazing.
they were never going to kill her. They were the writers and creators of Walking Dead said they will never kill Carol.
Yeah.
Because I was always such a big fan of Maggie as well.
Not gonna lie, I found Maggie a little bit irritating.
Oh, really? I love
I'm sorry.
Maggie.
That she has her place. She's great. She's not at my dinner table.
She's not in it.
I don't know. I just, she wasn't my favourite.
I loved Maggie and Carol. They were my two favourites. And I'm glad that they brought Maggie back in the finals.
Yes.
A couple of series.
No, she did deserve that.
Because what she went through.
Oh, she lost everybody.
She did.
Yeah, and then some.
Yeah. And then I think, spoilers ahead, have you seen all of The Walking Dead?
Yes.
Yeah, good, that's fine.
And I've seen the spin-offs as well, apart from the Maggie and Negan one.
Yes, I haven't started any of the... I watched one episode of the Rick and Michonne one. I watched the first episode.
What's that one called again? The Ones Who Survive or something like that?
Yeah. So I watched the first episode of that, but...
Daryl's holiday in Paris is great.
Oh, okay.
I really enjoyed that.
See, Daryl, I don't mind him as a character, but he was never... Everyone was like wetting themselves over Daryl, but I just didn't see it myself. Like, he just...
Possibly just don't have the same daddy issues as the rest of us.
Love it.
Look, we just want to be taken out into the woods and, you know, someone to skin a squirrel for us.
You manly man, Daryl. I mean, I can understand why a lot of people like him, because he was this broken character that became such a fan favourite because the way he was brought up, he had no sort of prejudice towards anybody like his older brother. So I can understand that. But the thing that I was going to say was, like, in the last few series was when Maggie came back and she found out that Negan had been welcomed into the community and she was furious.
Which you would be, understandably.
But then she kind of forgave him to a point, and it was like... And I was saying this the other day when I was talking about it with my dad, I couldn't have forgiven him. But watching it, you want her to forgive him, which is so stupid.
You do. And you think then, okay, so the stresses and the strains of the world they're living in have to make you rethink all of those things that we, in this world, would be like, no, not forgiving him at all. But actually, when the world is at an end and you need fighters and men who can talk their way out of any situation, you have to rethink those things that we do just take for granted these days.
The saddest thing about watching The Walking Dead is that you know that if this was to happen in real life, that it would probably be quite an accurate portrayal of society and how you've got something that I want, and there'll be certain gangs that would fight another gang rather than us actually coming together to fight as a unity.
God, no, we wouldn't do that.
No. We would just literally, it's like, well, we've got all these zombies wanting to kill us and we're just trying to survive, but then in the same time, we don't want you around, so we're going to kill you as well.
And take all your stuff.
Yeah, and take all your stuff.
No, I sometimes think living in a small rural town in Lincolnshire is actually quite a good place to be in a zombie outbreak.
Yeah, well, I always said when growing up, where I grew up was in Long Eaton, Derbyshire, Nottinghamshire. And they built a huge Tesco.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The car park was underneath it, and you had to have escalators that went up to the shop. And me and my sister used to always say, if zombie apocalypse occurs, we'll blow out the escalators and we'll live in Tesco.
Yeah. That kind of works. I mean, for a short amount of time at least.
Yeah, yeah.
I always had ideas that I would... So I live opposite a bus depot.
Okay.
And I always had this idea that we would use the buses to kind of barricade either end of the street.
Perfect.
A river runs behind my back garden and runs under my back garden. So we have access to fresh water.
Cool.
We can boil, we can filter, we can clean all that. It's Lincolnshire. I'm right on the edge of the fens. Perfect for growing crops.
Yes. You've got it made.
I know, right? It's perfect.
I love the fact you've not thought too much into this.
I mean, not massively. I dream about it.
You wake up disappointed.
Oh, you want to hear me waking up disappointed? Very early on in Joe and mine's relationship, Joe woke up one morning and was there in bed and I'm asleep. Joe's just there on his phone and I was having a very intense dream about zombies, about Negan from The Walking Dead, and that Negan was going to Glenn Joe and unalive him, as they say.
Unalive.
And in my fast asleep state, I rolled over, looked at Joe and just said, "You've never seen me properly angry, have you?" Because I was facing up to Negan, about to kick the shit out of Joe. And Joe just sort of turns and looked at me and is like, "What the fuck have I just done here? What? And then I was fast asleep again and went back to sleep.
Love it.
But yeah, "You've never seen me properly angry, have you?" would be my tagline in a zombie film, because I would love to just go batshit crazy. With a couple of little hatchets, a baseball bat maybe.
Yeah. Because are you a computer gamer? Barely.
I play Sims 3 and Age of Empires.
Okay. So there's a game that I've fallen in love with over the years. Played it, ironically, during the pandemic for the first time, called Days Gone.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of Days Gone,
You've heard
yes.
of it. And I played it during the pandemic. Perfect time, to be honest, because of what was going on and whatnot. And I've fallen so madly in love with that game.
Yeah.
It's unreal.
Is it comforting almost?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just riding around freely in the post-apocalyptic freaker world, as they call it, zombies basically, but they call them freakers. And I just think, the freedom.
Yeah.
You know.
Wouldn't you just love to be walking past a field and go, "Oh, look, there's a horse there. Guess that's my wheels for the day."
Yeah.
You know, jump on a horse and just ride about town. Go and, scavenge and hunt and, I don't know. It just, oh, look, an empty water bottle. I'll grab that. There's something strangely freeing about the idea of a post-apocalyptic world.
Yeah, because Lewis said to me last night, I was like, "I want to watch an end of the world film." It's like, I don't like end of the world films.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what do you call so-and-so? And it's like, post-apocalyptic. There's a difference.
There is a difference.
I don't like the idea of end of the world. Post-apocalyptic zombies.
So we watched something like that classic film, 2012. Have you seen it?
2012. Never seen it, but I know of it.
It's
know about it.
light entertainment.
Light entertainment. It's a rom-com.
Yeah, it's a summer fling with, is it Kevin Spacey? No, it's the other one. I always get them mixed up. Joan Cusack. No, that's a woman.
There is, I think, John Cusack.
It's John Cusack. Yeah. What was I talking about? Let's go back a bit. Hang on, track it back. 2012. That is end of the world.
Yes. Yeah.
Something like...
There's no real coming back from it.
What's the one with Jake Gyllenhaal where it gets really cold? Day After Tomorrow. Yeah. That's end of the world.
Yeah.
Post-apocalyptic, that's different.
Yes.
That's the world changing.
Yes. Where you could potentially rebuild the world.
And hopefully rebuild it better.
Yes.
Yeah. Have you ever watched the awful TV show? Oh, somebody online, somebody listening to this will know what I'm talking about. It's called something like Z-Town or Z-World.
I think it's like Z-World or something.
Something like that, yeah.
I've not watched it,
but... It runs for series and series and series, exactly like The Walking Dead. And it does just take the piss out of it continuously.
Right.
But it's also strangely comforting.
Yeah.
And it just... It is just running through this apocalyptic world, and it comes across these sort of like strange communities of people that have grown and formed together. And everyone that you approach, it's like, oh, this is a cult. And then it's like, well, no, it's just that the person who set up this group, that's how they do things. So,
but they are kind of, I could imagine a lot of them being like that, like cults and things like, because in Days Gone, there is a cult in that. Mind's evading me as to what they're called. Oh, God, what are they called? But anyway, they have scars and stuff. Like, they cut themselves and they shade their head because they want to be like the freakers.
Yeah.
And they believe themselves to be like the freakers. And I can imagine a lot of, like, societies being like that because there are so many people that are sheep. Yeah. And if you tell them...
And it's safer in that pack than it is on your own.
I would prefer to be on my own.
I think I would as well. But then again, you look at us who we are as individuals.
Yeah.
We are
We're sane-ish.
ish.
Ish.
You know, as long as we get our weekly dose of drugs provided by the NHS. I don't mean like actual drugs. Don't do drugs, kids. Stay in school. Watch zombie films.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I couldn't see myself being brought into a cult like that, or being led into a cult like that.
You'd hope not, and yet,
Yeah.
you know, the Reform Party exists. People do it.
I mean, if it was someone like Henry Cavill leading the cult, then I'd probably just throw myself in the cult head first.
Yeah, that'd be okay.
Yeah.
You know.
You know.
Yeah, I volunteer as tribute and all that. Definitely.
So if you're a cult leader, want to become a cult leader,
If you're looking for assistance, I'm happy to lick your boots.
if you look like someone like Henry Cavill.
Yes. If in fact you're not, and you're more sort of the Phil Mitchell type, then pay me and I'll probably do it anyway. Exciting zombie film news, though.
Yeah.
28 years later.
Yes. See, the thing is, you're probably going to shoot me in the face for saying this,
No,
but I
it's
didn't
okay.
care for 28 days later.
That's all right.
And I never saw 28 weeks later.
Okay.
I don't know what it was. Like, the first film, for some reason, just never struck a chord with me. When I watch a zombie film, I kind of want that adrenaline and tension.
And you
sort
don't
of
get
thing.
that from 28 days?
No. I don't know what it is, whether or not... I don't know. I was going to say because it's set in the UK, but...
It could be. Sometimes that familiarity can kind of separate us almost even more from a film.
Yeah,
Maybe if it had been set in America,
maybe.
it would have been different.
Yeah, because I mean, like we said before, love Train to Busan.
Oh,
I thought that film was so good, so far-fetched and like outlandish, but such an enjoyable...
like a TV show that's a capsule TV show.
Yeah.
You'd think, oh, there's only so much that can happen. But for God's sake, you're on a... It's not a bullet train, is it? No, it's just a normal train.
Yeah, I think it's just a normal train.
It's just a normal train, yeah. But a normal train, how would you get from one end to the other?
Knowing as
Such
well
a
that you can't
simple
stop.
concept.
Really, you can't
Yeah.
stop.
But I love the opening to that film where they've got the trucks driving through and somebody hits a deer and then the deer fucking stands up and it's all like... Because over in various parts of the world at the moment, there is a huge fungal infection going on with deers and it makes them dehydrated and they walk around in weird circles and they twitch and they... You can't see the facial expressions I'm making right now. And that's terrifying. And so the idea that could lead to a zombie a zombie virus and a zombie eruption, outbreak. That's the word.
Pandemic,
Oh, we're doing
epidemic.
so well today, guys.
Words are hard, as Bailey Sarian often says. Words are hard.
It's only
they've
words
remade-
and words. Why am I singing fucking Westlife? I'm so sorry.
They remade Train to Busan as Train to New York, and that's supposed to be coming out. I don't know if it's this year, but it's coming. They've filmed it.
That's either going to be amazing or absolutely awful.
Yeah. See, this is the problem. Like, I'm not one to just be like, oh, it's a remake, I'm not going to watch it, I hate it already. Like, I'm all for watching a good remake to see, you know.
Even a bad remake. It's...
There's some terrible ones,
Oh,
though.
there really are.
I still stand by the worst remake ever to be made
Mm-hmm.
was The Fog. The remake of The Fog. I digress because we're not talking about The Fog.
I don't think I've watched the remake of The Fog.
Oh, it's awful, 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 awful movie.
No, I'm thinking about The Mist.
And A Nightmare on Elm Street remake, both awful, awful films. But
Sometimes they're necessary to bring the
new-
attention of that storyline to a new generation. They watch the remake and they go, well, this is crap. And somebody goes, yeah, but did you watch the original?
this is true.
And then they watch the original and they go, oh my God, that's amazing.
It's like Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
I love Dawn of the Dead. I remember growing up watching Dawn of the Dead with my dad.
Yeah.
Like, I watched it was it? November, December last year.
Yeah.
Lewis went to his sister's Hendo and I ordered myself a pizza and I decided to watch the original Dawn of the Dead. And I was messaging my dad. I was like, I remember fondly watching this with you. Fond memories. And the remake of Dawn of the Dead is a very good film.
Yeah.
By Zack Schneider, and honestly, the remake of Dawn of the Dead is just as good and just as enjoyable as the original.
It is. I quite like the remake as well.
I think it's a great film.
It's still light-hearted enough,
yeah,
but traumatic, and yeah, it's still good.
and tension scenes
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. It's got all the great formulas in it.
And Phil from Modern Family.
Yeah, and he's such a horrible character,
He's such a dick in it.
which is crazy because he's such a lovely person
Yeah.
in Modern Family. But I do think that when I watch Modern Family and then I watch that and I'm like, how are you
Because he's an actor.
This is true. This is true.
Yeah.
But the thing that a lot of people don't like about the remake of Dawn of the Dead is the fact that the zombies are fast and they run.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but that's terrifying.
That's where the 28 Days Later zombies
Rage
are
zombies.
more terrifying.
Well, I think 28 Days Later originated the rage zombies of running. I don't think
Okay.
Before that,
they were always slow.
Yeah, I think it was 28 Days Later that incorporated that fast-moving zombies, and I think that they're terrifying.
It's
You've got this brutal mass of people. It's not just a
Powerful
serial
force.
killer that's running at you or something.
No.
You've got thousands, technically, could
okay.
be,
So
thousands.
28 weeks later, one of the most terrifying scenes for me. So that's the second one. Is Robert Carlyle. Sorry, spoilers. And spoilers for you, because you said you haven't watched it. He has just abandoned his wife in a farmhouse.
Is this the beginning?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Abandoned his wife and a small boy, not their son. He's don't worry about him. He's dead. In this farmhouse, and he's running across this field away from the farmhouse. And he's sort of like, he turns to look behind and he sees her there in the window. And she's screaming and banging on the door because, she's stuck up there and there's zombies in the house. And he's just, no, fuck it, I'm out of here, and just keeps running. And behind him is just this mass of people running across the field, and they are proper gunning for him.
Yeah.
And it's terrifying, especially as a fat girl. I would not make it. I mean, I'd just stop and be like, okay, this is happening. I get it. Okay, zombies, thank you. And then I'd
Would you be
lose...
insulted if they carried on running?
Sorry, say that again?
Would you be insulted if they carried on running? If you stopped?
Oh, well, and if they did like okay, so if they did the World War Z thing and ran past me,
Yeah.
I'd just be like,
Dude,
what the hell? Have I gone off? Do I taste bad? Is it because I vape? Is it because I have tattoos?
the judgmental
The
zombies.
judgmentals. Well, okay, so, what are they called? Chaps who do SNL, Jordan Peele and his friend, they do a thing about judgmental zombies.
Oh.
And they're these two black guys working their way through a very white suburban neighborhood.
I think I might have seen that.
Yeah. It's just like a 5-minute clip
Yeah.
of, this zombie like rolling up her window and him just going out, bitch, we got us some racist zombies.
I think I have seen it.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
But that's not zombies and comedy.
Yeah.
They do work well together.
Shaun of the Dead.
Shaun of the Dead is a masterpiece.
It is.
Edgar Wright's writing is fantastic. You've got an excellent duo there of Nick Frost and Simon Pegg.
Yeah. Just the whole ensemble of cast are just
perfect.
so good.
Yeah.
It honestly is so good.
And then they obviously have a love of zombie films
Yes.
because they do reference and quote so many
Yes.
different things. We're coming to get you, Barbara. It's perfect. It's lovely. I love that film.
And yet has such heart to it as well. And that's the thing that I love about certain genres of zombies and things like that, is that it's not just a mindless eating gore fest.
Yeah.
If you have some heart in that as well,
Yeah.
and I'm not on about being soppy and things like that, but you've got to have some kind of heart in it.
You have to, because that used to be a human being.
Yeah.
And in every zombie film that I can think of, there comes a moment when a character has to shoot or behead or kill the zombie that they used to know or they used to love.
How sweet is this, though?
Yeah.
Right? So me and Lewis went to go see A Quiet Place, day one the other day.
Is it good?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was better than the second one.
Anything's better than the second one.
Yeah.
I love those
said
films.
to Lewis, I was like, what would you do in those circumstances?
Yeah.
And he was like, I don't think I'd want to survive. I was like, really? You wouldn't? He went, if you died, I'd walk out in the street and just scream.
Yeah.
I was like, how sweet is that?
That is sweet.
I'd be like, I don't know if I could say the same, I'm afraid. I'm sorry.
I like to think that part of me
I think I'm too
would
cowardly.
agree and be like, oh, Joe got eaten. Well, yeah, I'm just going to lay down and die now as well. But also the part of me that sleeps with a baseball bat next to my bed would be like, I'm going to avenge you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go out and embed some nails into this here baseball bat, and I'm going to go out swinging.
Yeah.
And carry on swinging and kill everyone. But that is sweet.
I thought that was sweet.
That is very sweet.
now I get it.
Remember, everyone, when your other half dies, you're not obligated to die with them, but it's nice if you do.
It's nice to have options.
Yeah, just think about it.
The thing that I find interesting as well is how zombie films have transformed so much to what they used to be before. I mean, a lot of zombie films that I watched growing up were very much similar in the way that, like, they came out of the ground, they came out of the grave, they were decomposing and stuff. Now they're very much like modern day. The pandemic's just happened, everyone's infected, and there is no grave crawling.
The last time I think I saw a grave crawling zombie was probably Resident Evil 2. That's the last time I think I saw a zombie crawling out of a grave.
Yeah. You just don't get it anymore.
No, but I don't know whether that's that producers and writers have moved away from that, and that actually, once they're a dead body, they're not scary. What's more scary is someone who was alive just then, now being dead.
I think that's definitely the direction that a lot of the filmmakers are going in nowadays, that you almost have to be infected with it to come back, but these bodies are already dead.
Yeah, so they can't actually now come back.
Yeah, but I don't know, I still find something very creepy about that, like being in a cemetery. And
cemeteries are inherently creepy. The idea of suddenly, piles of soil opening up and the ground and the dead rising is very different to what modern day zombies are, aren't they?
I have to go back and watch some old zombie movies for that whole grave crawling.
I think we need to maybe we need to look into this and go back to that idea of a zombie, which is, thinking about it now, way more scary.
I mean, the way they crawl out the grave, because there was a franchise in the 80s called Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
And it was sort of started out as a bit tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah.
And I don't think I ever saw the original, but I saw the sequel, which I used to thoroughly enjoy as a child. But then the third one was a balls to the walls crazy. So the third one starts, it's in a containment unit that they're trying to, what's the word? Control zombies.
Yeah.
So they have to sort of create zombies first.
Yeah.
And then they have like this whole unit to them where they can strap on all this metal and things to the zombies.
And control them.
Like slaves sort of things. And one of the characters finds out that his dad is doing this.
What a dick.
Yeah, and it's like a government thing. And then he escapes his girlfriend, who's kind of punk gothic kind of thing.
Has to be, yep.
And they get into a motorcycle accident, and she gets thrown into this wooden... Is it called a pylon? Like electricity pole sort of thing? Dead, gone.
Dead as a doornail.
He drags her back and undoes this gas that brings people back to life, which creates zombie and creates her into a zombie. But she's a very functioning zombie.
A pretty zombie.
But as the film goes on, her hunger for flesh comes in. And there's this scene, like, this doesn't ruin anything because it's not one of those films that, like, it's just a gore fest. So they get trapped in this underground sewer system.
Yeah.
And there's these people, bad people, that have followed them down there. And she starts pushing metal through her fingers, through her hands, springs through her lips and stuff, and just turns this badass zombie and starts, like, ripping these people apart.
Excellent.
But yet she's still functioning like a human, kind of.
Yeah.
But wants to eat them as well. It's, like I said, balls to the walls crazy, and gore is ridiculous. And they just announced recently about it that they've found the first cut of that film on an old VHS that they thought was lost.
Amazing.
So they're gonna
digitalize it and save
bring
it.
out.
Oh, fantastic.
Like I said, those were the films that I grew up watching, and then when you get to Walking Dead era and things like that, it's so strange how different.
It's so far from it, isn't it? Yeah. I hadn't even conceived of that, the idea that we'd started off, with those skeletons and men in suits crawling out of a black and white grave to where we are now, I
mean, Dawn of the Dead, I think, is still such an iconic film to go back to.
Yes, it is.
And I remember as a child thinking how much I just wanted to be able to just roam free in that shopping centre.
Oh, yes.
And just
that's been a dream of mine for years to just, have... In fact, it happens... Oh, what's the other one that it happened in that I'm just thinking of? No, my brain's turned to stew. The Last of Us.
Yeah.
They have that scene in the arcade, same kind of thing, where they have this freedom to roam, but there is still this threat behind it all. And the idea of being locked up in a shopping mall in America, having free roam of all the shops. Yeah. Great fun.
The food. And the fact that they still take the cash. Because we as humans are still programmed into, well, you never know.
You never know. Things might get better and I might need all this money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do love that. I think that is so good.
I after watching Dawn of the Dead the other day, for about 3 hours, I kept on calling the dog Flyboy.
He died recently.
Oh.
Yeah. He died I think it was this year.
Yeah.
The actor, because Ken Ford, the guy that escapes at the end with the girl.
Yeah.
Who's in Keenan and Kel. He put on Twitter, it was like, so long Flyboy sort of thing. And I was just like, oh, that's so sad.
Oh, that is sad.
Because I don't think he really went on to do much after the film.
No, I don't think he did either, no.
But, yeah.
But they're not, I think a lot of actors in horror films and a lot of actors who repeatedly did horror films, and especially zombie films, I think they get a bad rep, don't they?
Yeah.
You know, you look at somebody look at Sir Christopher Lee.
Yeah.
He got a reputation for doing these
big horror films
that were kind of a bit, I don't know.
They weren't as sophisticated.
Yes,
as other.
They weren't sophisticated. They weren't drama, darling.
Yeah.
They weren't emotional pieces and masterpieces of the stage. It was Dracula and the Night of the Living Dead. And actually, no, fuck you.
I think,
fantastic.
personally, you have to be a better actor to be in a horror film.
Yes.
Because you've got so many different emotions that you've got to portray.
So many,
convincingly.
Yeah.
You can't, not many actors can pull off a very good scream unless your name is Vera Farmiga. I love you. Her scream, she was in The Conjuring.
Yes, thank you. I was just in my head, I'm going, Vera Farmiga. It's familiar, but I don't know who it is.
She has one of the best horror screams ever.
She does.
Oh, it's blood curdling.
Yeah.
It really is. And yeah, there's so many, like you said, it's looked upon still now as such a subgenre, and the Oscars still won't
and they
acknowledge
still don't
it.
acknowledge it.
And yet more work has to go into a horror film than
Massively.
most other films.
And also loads of the VFX that sort of the mainstream movies use now started in horror.
Yeah.
Anyone in VFX, they came up through horror.
Oh, yeah, big
They
time.
just have to have done.
Everyone starts out in horror.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Because that's what gets you going. Whether it's, how a squib works when you get shot or just any of it. It starts in horror.
And I guarantee you, most of the actors that are now they probably look back on and not necessarily regret being in a horror film, but they probably don't put it up there in their repertoire of their
No, they won't. That's not on the top of their IMDb.
But I bet you...
IMDb. Thank you.
I bet you they'll probably look back and think, though, that the most fun they had was on the set of that horror film.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I don't think anyone really has much of an ego. Everyone's there to kind of have fun.
Everyone's there just to have a bit of fun with it.
Yeah.
I would love to be part of something like The Walking Dead's filming. I just think that looks so much fun. Being a zombie strolling along and sort of, I just think it looks great fun.
Yeah.
A nice little fact about the Shaun of the Dead, the zombies in that, they wrote out on the Spaced website. So Spaced was a TV show that Edgar Wright wrote with Nick Frost and Simon Pegg, and a lot of the other cast are in there as well. And they put on the website, casting call for zombies. If you're a fan of the show, come and be a zombie. And so all of the zombies that you see in that film are Spaced fans. They also have a few other little nice nods there to Spaced. Guys like, there's a character in the TV show called Tyres, who is this kind of like pilled up bicycle delivery guy.
Right.
Played by, I want to say Rhys Ifans. That might be wrong. I might be getting my Welshman mixed up. Either way, you see him as a zombie in it. And it's just, it's a nice little thing there. And being part of a group of zombies, I think, would be quite nice.
Yeah. I think it is. I think doing something like that, you get put in makeup, you wait, you shuffle around for a bit, or you run.
Yeah.
And, I think
it'd be great fun.
Yeah. And I know quite a few people, like my sister and a friend of mine, Sarah, are terrified of zombies. They will not watch a zombie film.
Yeah.
They will not watch or interact in any way with something to do with zombies because they say that they are not just scared, but like paralyzed by the idea of zombies.
Wow.
And to watch them on TV, it's like having a panic attack.
I find that so strange. But then again, there's something about people who watch horror films, and once again, my apologies if we get a little bit too deep here. If you've experienced any trauma in your life, you are more likely to be a fan of horror films.
Oh, big time.
And you are more likely to repeat watch particular horror films because there is comfort to be found in the trauma sort of chemical that you get whilst watching horror films.
Yeah.
There's a safety in knowing, well, in a minute that door's going to open, there's going to be a guy there with an axe. I know that, I'm safe. And that familiarity of watching that kind of it's like a self-soothing thing when it comes to trauma.
Yeah.
So maybe your friends who don't like the zombie films have never experienced trauma, or maybe experienced it to a different level that it doesn't, that they don't enjoy horror films to such.
Yeah.
But
I still find it strange when you come across like that Barry next door who's 6'7", goes to the gym, built like a brick shit house, and he won't watch a horror film because he's too scared.
yeah.
My sister, when I grew up, and I was a teenager, my sister was dating this lad, biggest chav, shaved head,
Yeah.
tattoos, you name it, and he went to watch White Noise,
Yeah.
if you remember that film, and apparently was peeing his little panties the whole way through,
Gosh.
just covering his face, putting his fingers in his ears. He would not sit through it because he was so scared.
Oh,
And you're like, oh, you're not so hard, are you?
it's funny, isn't it? That yeah.
So what was on your list of top?
My list of top 20 plus zombie films,
Yeah,
because I
'cause I
got
want to know
I
if
got
I've
to
seen
20 and I kept going, quite frankly. So up there at the top was Train to Busan. I love that film.
It's such, yeah.
Next was, and I don't know that this counts as a zombie film, but it is a zombie film, The Girl with All the Gifts.
I don't think I've seen it, but I know about it. Yeah.
I think it was once again based off a book.
Yeah.
Whether it does the book justice or not is up to debate. I'm very much the belief of that you should count two things as count something like that as two separate entities.
Yeah.
And just accept that they might share the same title.
Yeah. And sometimes, my God, some films you watch and then go, so this is based on the book? Okay.
Let's do that with the Bible.
And make it really gay.
Yes. I mean, there was a lot of feet touching in that. That's a fetish, you know. World War Z, case in point, once again, very different from the book. I know that pissed off a lot of the book fans.
But apparently that during the first cut of that film was so poorly received, they had to spend a bucket load of money for reshoots to actually even get it to the cinema.
That's a shame, because I find that film really comforting, and I don't know why. It's one of those ones that I will just have on in the background.
It was so incredibly poorly
It
received
is
by
really shit.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't thrilled by it when it came out, but I didn't. It was okay for what it was.
Yeah.
I just thought some of the effects were quite awful.
Yeah, they are.
How the
Some of
people
them are.
kind of build a wall out of the zombies.
Yeah,
you know?
some of them are quite shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Moving swiftly on, 28 days, weeks, and years later, upcoming to that, The Night Eats World.
Yes, we was
We
discussing
spoke about this briefly, yeah.
Yeah,
So
I thought it was quite a slow burn film.
it is. For those of you who haven't seen it, guy in Paris goes to a house party, wakes up the next morning, everybody's dead.
Yeah.
And he's in this big, beautiful sort of Parisian townhouse.
Yeah.
And he turns it into his music studio. Yeah, trust me, it's weird. He's playing like cutlery and stuff as instruments, but then he's playing drums to zombies at the same time. And it is a very slow burner film.
Yeah.
But I think that's quite beautiful in a way.
It is, and I think that film shows how we as humans, in faced with those kind of circumstances, take comfort in the smallest things.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
And I think you find that in some films, like Zombieland.
Yeah.
How he wants Twinkie.
Yeah, he wants a Twinkie, and that's his go-to thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that would be the case for a lot of people, that if you were faced with like this impending death, that
I would be looking for disposable vapes everywhere. That's it. I would be doing hit and runs looking for that blackcurrant and lemonade goodness. It's just it.
Because that was one of the comments that Lewis said about after we watched A Quiet Place day one, was that she just wants to get pizza.
Yeah.
And Lewis like, I didn't get that. I was like, because she just wanted pizza. It was
just
like
that,
small
that
comforts.
fraction of normality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I continue.
No, carry on. Now, I've put down here Ravenous. Once again, it's a French one, and
Right.
I think I've got this right. A French one. They are zombies, but they're not zombies. There's a weird thing. They collect furniture and go and pile it in fields.
Oh.
Yeah. Look into it. It's weird. Little Monsters.
Little Monster. Oh, Little
Yes,
Monster.
Little Monsters.
With Anaya. How do you pronounce her name?
Yes.
Oh, I haven't got a phone on me to look it up. But yes.
If you haven't watched Little Monsters, firstly, I don't like children.
Yeah.
I don't have children myself. My niece and nephew are acceptable. If given the opportunity, I would yeet a 2-year-old into a river. I can't stand them. Nasty little things. So imagine my disgust then at zombie children. Ugh. But such a beautiful film at the same time. Give it a watch. It's great fun. Little Monsters, Shaun of the Dead, Planet Terror, Dawn of the Dead, Resident Evil, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All of them that they've done. They're so bad, but I love them.
Yeah. See, this is the thing with Resident Evil. I grew up playing the games.
Yeah.
Like a huge Resident Evil fan when it comes to
I grew up watching somebody play the games because I'm crap at computer games. So I used to watch my friend James play them, and I just loved them.
I still think the films, the only one that I don't care too much on was Extinction in the desert.
Yeah.
But I think they all are so shit.
Yep.
But they have such charm and enjoyment, though.
Yeah.
And they all have their own charms.
And they all have Michelle Rodriguez playing Michelle Rodriguez in a film about Michelle Rodriguez.
Starring
Michelle Rodriguez.
Yeah. And I love the fact they were able to bring her back numerous times as clones and whatnot.
Clones of her. It kind of, by the end of it, it knew what it was and it just lent into it even more.
Yeah.
And you know what? I quite enjoyed the TV show that Netflix did of it recently.
To an extent, I did.
It wasn't amazing.
Yeah.
But it was a good bit of filler.
So let down by Welcome to Raccoon City movie that they did.
Yeah.
Like it on the surface.
It should have been really good.
Yeah, because they were proper fans of the series, of the games. Everything on paper was sort of there, but then they just kind of messed up so many of the characters. Like, why did Leon become an idiot, for starters? Like, I didn't care too much about the fact that they changed the ethnicity of certain characters. That didn't really bother me. No. But it was like, why did you turn Leon into an idiot? The effects seem so weak. Like, almost CGI.
But it was bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just felt so short. Yeah, it was sad. But
that's the other thing as well. I think we as zombie fans have an expectation now of zombie films that there either have to be purposefully bad zombie films, or they have to be such high-end zombie films. They have to be really polished and defined, and you're meant to be able to see every little blood droplet kind of thing. And if it doesn't hit that mark, we will be disappointed.
Yeah,
but,
I can understand.
Where have we got to? Resident Evil, The Cured. Not necessarily a zombie film, but it kind of is there as well.
Right.
So it basically means that the zombies has happened, and then those people who are zombies get cured.
Okay.
And they get integrated back into society.
Okay. Was that a TV series?
I think it was a TV series, yes.
Did it have the guy from Royal Family in it?
Possibly.
So I remember there was something about that. And I watched the first episode of it when it first aired.
Yeah.
And that does sound familiar. I mean, it had the guy from Royal Family because he was hiding somebody in his house.
Yes, who is a cured person.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was almost you could almost argue a satirical look on society of racism and things like that.
Basically, yeah. The next one, The Crazies, with not Billy Bob Thornton.
Crazies.
Sorry, his name is Timothy Oliphant, but we call him not Billy Bob Thornton because he looks like Billy Bob Thornton, but he's not Billy Bob Thornton.
He's so much more attractive.
He is, but he's got very small hips, and I feel like I could snap him like a twiglet.
I did like The Crazies.
The Crazies is good fun.
Yeah.
Wreck.
I was literally about to say Wreck.
Oh, it's brilliant.
I never saw the third one. Saw first, the second, and then the last one. It was the wedding one I didn't see.
Yeah. So the Wreck, because there's the Wreck, and it's based on a movie, or is the other movie based on Wreck, where it's a Spanish version? I think it is.
Wreck is the Spanish version.
Wreck is the Spanish version.
Quarantine is the American.
Thank you. I knew there was a thing there.
Yeah.
Dead Snow.
Dead Snow. I think I have that on Blu-ray.
Nazi zombies.
Right, yeah, I know
it's
of it.
necessary for the comedy trope of it.
Right.
It's not that great a film, but hey, whatever. Zombieland.
Zombieland.
Great films. Fantastic.
Love both of them so much.
Really well done, shiny comedy zombie films. And poor Bill Murray. That's twice he's come up now.
Yeah.
Dawn of the Dead, yes. Brain Dead, which is the Peter Jackson one. Day of the Dead, The Walking Dead. We're All Dead and Alive. So recently there have been, certainly on Netflix, there have been more Asian zombie films.
Okay.
Sorry, zombie TV shows and zombie films bought out.
Right.
And Alive is a zombie film set in a Japanese apartment block.
Okay.
My apologies if I've got that completely wrong and it's Chinese. I'm an awful person. I also live in a very white, middle-class rural area, and I don't see anyone who isn't white and middle-class. So if I've completely miscalculated that, I'm really sorry. And yeah, it's people living in an apartment building surviving during a zombie apocalypse.
Okay.
The We Are All Dead is definitely Japanese, and it's a Japanese high school.
Right.
Someone's going to tell me it's Korean or something.
Possibly.
Possibly. They're not British. And it's their trials and tribulations throughout a zombie apocalypse, and it's fantastic. It's so good to watch. It's great fun.
There's an Asian one that I want to watch, and it's just always been falling off my radar.
Yeah.
Is the one where, I can't remember what it's called now. They're making a zombie film during a zombie apocalypse that they don't
amazing.
know it's happening.
You know, that rings a bell. Oh, what the hell is that?
And yeah, so I think you start watching the film thinking it's a zombie film, but then it cuts away.
And
it's the making a zombie film, but then they find out that there's a zombie apocalypse actually going on.
oh, that's shit. I mean, that's bad luck if you're dressed like a zombie already and then you get zombied.
Yeah, Bill Murray.
Bill married, yeah. Oh, yeah, of course. Oh, and then the last one on my list is Dead Set.
Dead Set. See that I loved. It's Davina McCall.
Davina McCall as a zombie. Bring it on.
The only thing I can't watch it now is the camera work is so shaky.
Oh, it's awful.
It's just.
Yeah.
Sorry, you
so
can't
badly
see
filmed.
me, but that sound effect.
But he made a shaking motion.
Yes.
So badly filmed.
Camera movements. I mean, I can understand because I don't mind films that have shaky cameras to create a sense of realism.
Yeah.
But the extent of using it in Dead Set is just it's
too
very
much.
distracting.
It's like somebody found their idea in a GCSE drama project and went, I'm going to run with this with the whole thing.
Because if it wasn't so much like that, I would have watched that a million times over.
Yeah.
The concept of it being
It's perfect.
held in
the Big Brother household, trapped in there. You've got producers having to shit in a bin while he's on a heroin binge, or is it coke binge? Can't remember. Anyway, it's just
Dead
wonderful.
Set was so good. And the thing that always got me was right at the end when she goes into the diary room and she's just like, I'm sorry, and pulls her heart out, and then she's like, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
You know, and that just knowing you were not getting out of that.
You are not getting out of that alive, yeah. Because they redid that as well in, I can't remember whether it was Mexico or Brazil, and that's Reality Z.
Oh.
So same thing, but different country.
Films.
There will be people listening going, how can you not have mentioned this particular zombie film?
100%. Ones that I grew up watching as well was City of the Living Dead.
Yep.
Living Dead at Manchester Morgue. And ironically, I didn't know until years later when I watched Living Dead at Manchester Morgue, it was filmed in the UK, that they filmed it at Dovedale District Park. And do you know where the stepping stones are?
Yeah.
It was there, and I remember going, that's Dovedale. I've been there. Yeah. And then there was, so City of the Living Dead, which I used to love as well. And again, that was made by Lucius Fulci. If that's how you pronounce his name, I'm so sorry if that's not correct. But I used to love that film as well. My dad was like, this is awful. And that was kind of like a gate to hell sort of thing. Yeah. And zombies coming out of the ground, grave crawlers and all that kind of thing.
Not parasites and bacteria, no.
On that note, I think we just basically talked about films that we loved about zombies.
Yeah, sorry if you expected like a deep historical dive into the lore of this.
I mean, it was my idea that was going to, and then I think we just got
talking about zombies, which is fun.
We should have really gone into depth with zombies of Resident Evil caliber, but because I know that the makers of Resident Evil was inspired heavily by Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
Because George A. Romero, who made Dawn of the Dead and that, he directed the original trailer for Resident Evil 2 game.
Ah, okay.
When that first came out. Because he was meant to make a zombie film, Resident Evil film.
Yeah.
But for some reason, he dropped out due to creative differences, which is a shame because I think he would have done.
Great.
Yeah, a really good one.
That opening bit where they're walking past the office that's all been flooded and the girl's there floating and she just opens her eyes.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, so on this episode, that will conclude our discussion of zombies.
Thank you for listening.
We will be having Charlotte back because just before we started recording, Charlotte said she wanted to discuss witches.
Yeah.
And I was like, I am all over that. Let's talk witches for sure. Let's talk witches.
Oh, this witch will be back. Yes.
This witch is back.
This witch is back. I refer to myself as the Swamp Witch. So
fair enough.
The Swamp Witch will come back and discuss witches and feminism and the smashing of the patriarchy and the misjustice that has been wreaked upon women and warlocks and men for generations.
I think that is going to be a good one for people to listen to. I feel that maybe people may be even angry when they're listening. So you never know.
Good.
Yeah.
Feel an emotion. Feel it. If you want to get angry, get angry.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for coming and talking with me today, Charlotte.
Thank you for inviting me to come and talk with you today. I had really good fun. I loved it.
Good. I'm glad. Anytime you ever suddenly think of a topic to discuss, drop me a message and we can certainly talk crap again.
Yes, let's do it.
Well, thank you for joining us on Mrs. Stitch Films Creepy Corner. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review to keep the darkness alive. And until next time, remember to keep your lights dim, your doors locked, and as always, stay creepy. Bye.